Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you in another video. All right. Hey, what's up? So, been working on a playlist today. I kind of wanted to spare everybody of the content for the last couple of days because they've been working right outside my door, right outside, like literally maybe 3 feet away from my main window. It's just been constant work being done, so I couldn't really have smooth content without a lot of noise interrupting. But it didn't stop me from doing what I had to do, man. I tell you, those 5 days off that I had working out, or rather taking time off of working. I don't know why my head does that, but taking time off of working out really made for an interesting workout this morning because I was sweating like I hadn't sweat in years. I mean, just profusely. It was extra hot in here, and man, them squats. I usually don't even sweat when I work out that much since I do the same thing over and over again, but that is not how that went today, so I'm pretty sure that was very, very good for me, given all the laying around I had done. Yeah, man, I actually wanted to come over here and talk some basketball, to be honest with you. I didn't want to turn this into a talk about me session at all. I had some concepts in my head that I wanted to do earlier, but since they were doing work, I just decided to opt away from talking into this camera. But, if anything, I've just been listening to people talking about just various different teams and rankings and stuff. Obviously, my Lakers, what we're listening to is just a bunch of disrespect. I guess you can consider it disrespect. ESPN ranked us, I think, 7th or something like that. But for me, I don't really have us as a top 5 team. I don't know that we're really off. They were really off in regards to saying that. That's basically what I'm here to say. Do I have us behind Miami right now? No. And that's one of the teams I looked at and I said, yeah, nah, they're allowing Miami in there without actually assessing what it is that they're going through as a team. If you're going to shoe Dame Lillard in as a player that they're automatically going to have, then I think it's okay to slot them ahead of us based on the super team nature of what they're trying to build, coupled with the fact that they were in the finals last year with a couple of guys carrying over from the main core. So yeah, we would want to give them their respect. But right now, given the fact that they've lost some players, including one of their very, very best role players is now on our team, I just don't think they're really taking into account what it is that the Miami Heat have to deal with going forward. If this Dame trade doesn't happen, they're going to be a bad team. It's not going to even be about whether or not they're going to contend. No, it's going to be about whether or not they want to go forward with their core, because they just simply, in theory, will not have enough. So I don't see them being ahead of us. But teams like Milwaukee, yeah, I got Milwaukee ahead of us only because I look at Giannis being a player that can basically lead anybody anywhere so long as he has enough of them upright to do what needs to be done. And I suspect that they will have that this year. I don't actually think Milwaukee really, quite frankly, ever does the greatest job of getting other talent. I think they've gotten solid, fair transactions done for themselves, I guess you could say, and have kept continuity with a very, very good, cohesive core surrounding Giannis. So that kind of eats away at what it is they're capable of doing based on Jrue Holiday and Middleton being max guys. So, and it being the Milwaukee market, it's not the easiest place to get players. But I just don't think they've done the greatest job of getting role players for their team to put around Giannis. I think Giannis has done an amazing job of masking that. I do like Brook Lopez being re-signed there, especially since it didn't look like they had many centers to pick from. The price tag on that is a bit much, but given how he played last year, you almost have to just go ahead and let him have it, despite being, 35 years of age. I look at them and I say, that's as long as he comes back the same player, they're still going to be a contender for sure. Him and Giannis is an underrated two-man tandem when you consider his size and Giannis's dominance. It's an underrated thing to have Giannis have another player on his team with an all-star upside, or rather not upside, but all-star ability, being so massive and so imposing to stop at the rim. Coupled with his three-point ability, bringing him back was a big deal. So when I look at their team, I don't think they need much so long as Giannis is healthy. I don't think they have problems with the Miami Heat in the first round if Giannis doesn't go down with the back. So for me, I don't dock them for getting knocked off by Miami. I really don't. And I certainly don't dock Giannis for not winning a game 4. What was it, game 4? They got swept. I think they got swept. I don't remember. But I don't dock Giannis for coming back from injury, not being fully 100%, and not being able to overcome Miami, who ultimately got to the finals. They can stand to lose a game in that series with Giannis on the floor. I had them winning in 5 or 6 games. So if you're going to remove Giannis from 3 of those games and he comes back for 1 of them, that's the one they lose. So I don't dock Milwaukee for losing that series, because I just simply think Giannis is about, and I'm saying this respectfully, 70% of their team. So if you remove him from it, of course they're not going to be any good. You put him back on it, of course they're going to be very, very good. So that's kind of how I look at it. Healthy Giannis, healthy contender. And then the other teams that they had above us, like Phoenix, I think Phoenix, I can comfortably say that they are one of the better teams in the league. Obviously, putting together the big 3 and then making the trades that they did to get the role players they did. I thought they had just as good of an offseason as we did. So putting them ahead of us is probably something a lot of people are going to do. And then the other usual suspects I can't get too mad at it. Denver, you know what I mean? I think it was another team that I looked at and I said, yeah, probably. But that's about it, man. There's not too many that are ahead of us, and I don't think they had too many of them ahead of us. So I think we're a deeper team than some of the teams that I think may be considered better than us. Boston was the other team that's involved. So it's like, one could argue we don't have a player playing at a higher level than Jason Tatum today. One could argue that. So I guess I'll listen to people who want to give them their respect in that regard. But I don't think they're that much better than us. In fact, I think we're probably neck and neck to one another. Wherever we're at. If we're number 4, they're number 5, that kind of thing. Neck and neck. But that's how I have it. And there's a team like Sacramento I think people are sleeping on. I don't think they've lost enough of what it is that they had to think of them as anything less than a contender this year. We'll see if it translates to that, but I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be. And with Chet Holmgren coming in today, OKC situation, coupling that with all those young players just getting that much older, I think they should also be stepping into some winning as well. I think that for them in the Western Conference. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I did hear something that I thought was okay in terms of a direction a team could try to go that may be unorthodox. San Antonio Spurs are looking at Evan Fournier's contract in New York. Now, Evan Fournier has a contract that most people don't like in general, and New York hasn't had much of a use for him. He said something that he was quoted saying something that I very much agree with and have said on this camera a million times. If you want to get rid of a player, why not try playing them so that they can raise their value up and get moved? That's kind of what he was saying. You guys want to move me, but you won't play me. So I can't play up the value to get the hell out of here. So it's like, if the San Antonio Spurs see the value in going to get Evan Fournier as a piece, they can certainly absorb his contract, whatever it is, with their circumstance. I don't think it's a bad idea to add a veteran shooter to their situation. We know Evan Fournier is a better player than the New York Knicks have used him to be, partially because they have too many other pieces that they can play. And they paid him before those pieces arrived. So that's kind of how that went. And they just haven't found a taker, and they haven't been wise enough to play him so that they could get somebody who would actually take him. So they're going to lose him for little to nothing, which is a good, I guess, addition by subtraction if you see the contract as a problem. And if you're San Antonio, you see him as a win now, helpful 2-guard, 3-guard shooter that's going to make spacing that much easier for all of their emerging young, talented young players. And they have a lot of them. So Evan would kind of guide them. He would come in and kind of fill a forming, I'm not going to say core, but a forming tandem of veterans that they have on that team that I think is intriguing to me. You got Evan Fournier and you got Cedi Osman. I'm intrigued for that. And the Fournier is because Fournier, not only because he's a shooter and a veteran, but because he's French, and that's big. Given the Wembanyama Tony Parker connection, that's a big deal. So you just want to bring him as many people that are going to make, and I say him as in Victor, you want to bring him as many people as he's going to be comfortable with as possible. People who can help him win, because you don't want him to even begin to think about, can I win here? You want to already have a contender in place, or at least the makings of something that will allow him to believe he can start winning as soon as he's ready to lead. And so that's what I like about what San Antonio is doing. They're forming something that resembles a competent bench, and I like it. I like it. I do wish they didn't lose Keita Bates-Diop. He did end up going to Phoenix, which I think is an excellent addition to their team. But all in all, I do believe that we're talking about a good situation there when you consider they replaced him with Sidi Sissoko, who I think is a nice young rookie that is going to do a lot of good things, passing the rock and playing defense and just ultimately being huge for them. So you consider him, Sohan, Wembanyama. I like their front court right there. Collins, I don't know if they're going to move him or not, but he has a lot of fire. I think he's going to excel in a winning situation for which he has never been a part of. He's the right type of personality. I wanted the Lakers to go get him, even though I know there's some guys on this team he's gotten into it with. That's exactly why I want him on the team, because he's that kind of guy. That's just he's wired a certain way to get into it with people, and that can be a positive for his team. And I think he's going to get better, because he was a lottery pick that had some early injury issues, but good workout habits. You can see that in his physique. So this is a guy that I think I'm higher on than the field is. I think he's going to be a very solid role player as he ages, with that chip on his shoulder. And so that's another piece that I think is just going to ultimately help their front court. And they still had some other guys too on that bench that helped their front court too. Another center that they were using last year that I thought rebounded the ball well and did some good things there too. I don't know if he's still there, but San Antonio's front court is interesting to me with Wembanyama. And then you consider all the other guys that they got. Wesley had a fantastic summer league. I don't think that was a fluke. I think he's going to be somebody, Blake Wesley. I would move Keldon Johnson. I would probably move him, but I don't think it's a necessity that you do that. I just don't know that you're going to ever see him get to be the level of player that his contract is now going to be paid to be. And even though that's not a bad thing, considering when now Wembanyama is now in place. And I don't hold Keldon Johnson's play against him last year, because I think he was actually the guy in a lot of situations that were asking to kind of steer the tank. I just don't know if the role's there. I guess is what I'm saying with Keldon Johnson. Since he's on a very expensive contract, you kind of want him to be a starter, having shooting ability to kind of do his own thing, get at least 11, 12 shots a game, rebound the ball, all of that. He's going to be a little less than that on this roster, and I don't think you can. I think I can upgrade there, I guess is what I'm saying. I think I can upgrade Keldon Johnson. I could trade him to a team that needs him and bring myself back a piece that I could use. A little more than him. Probably a little less expensive. It's not a pressing issue, but it is something I think they can do that I think will improve the team, in theory. He is a really good player, though. And he did drive the tank, so he deserves to see some success in San Antonio. So I'm on the fence about that. I don't know how to view Keldon Johnson. I don't know how to view it, and I don't think that's the best place for him anymore, and I don't think San Antonio needs him anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. They have small forwards that they can use. A lot of them. Good ones, too. So he's going to play into that role as it's probably the starting small forward, but his minutes are going to get 80 into by Malachi Branham, and there's another person as well that's very, very good that is just not coming to mind, but it's going to also play that small forward position well for them. I'm curious to see if they're going to bring back Josh Primo. Every time I talk about the Spurs, I bring up Josh Primo. I know he's out of the league. It's going to be tough. Try to gauge when he's going to be ready, if he's ever going to be ready, but he's a talented player. I would want him back with my organization if I was San Antonio. I wouldn't want him going nowhere else. He's a lottery talent. He's still only, 20 years old? You want him on your team. So these are things that I'm thinking about in regards to San Antonio. I am intrigued by them. If they get Evan Fournier, he slips right in. Another expensive piece shooting the ball. Kind of Keldon Johnson all over again, but you'd probably rather have Keldon. So that's a little weird, but I ultimately like the French connection, the three-point shooting connection, and ultimately um, just overall the personalities that seem to be forming around Wembanyama. I think they got the right idea. So Evan Fournier looks like a Spur guy, and I guess that's just the French connection itself. But he looks like he should have probably already been there. Simply put, probably should have been there already. So yeah, I think they should go ahead and do that if the contract and all that makes sense to them. Maybe they move Keldon Johnson in this trade, but I definitely wouldn't do it straight up. Definitely not. And I don't think Keldon Johnson needs to be landing in New York either. Absolutely not. But that's just a whole nother story. So yeah, man, San Antonio. I guess that's where my head went first. We talked a lot about Dame yesterday. I don't think there's anything to add to that. Philly is interesting. Clippers are interesting because, of course, we're still waiting to see if James Harden's going to be heading to the Clippers and what Philly's going to be taking back. If they don't like what they're taking back, will Joel now become disgruntled? Is he already disgruntled? And the question I have for all of you guys is, if a guy demands a trade, will we know it from here on out? If they're doing it correctly, maybe not. So that's something to keep in mind going forward. It's a lot of publicity and a lot of media, pointers that can come from guys demanding trades. But with the memo coming out telling guys, they're going to be fined for telling teams that they only want to go to a certain place, I think it's going to be more stealth conversations. I ain't talking about tampering at all. I'm just talking about guys are just not going to be forthcoming with what they're telling management in regards to them wanting to be moved. It's just going to be the way of the NBA. And if that's what it is, a guy like Joel Embiid may put in a trade request and you won't know about it, and he might just get moved in a blockbuster overnight, and you will be like, where the hell did this come from? I think it's reason to believe that we should start expecting something like that. Not necessarily from Joel, but just period. That's how teams and players are likely going to have to handle things like this from here on out. And so the speculation, I don't know how the NBA wants to handle that. And as I said already, I don't know if they don't do this on purpose, just for the media attention. But when you talk about GMs and what they need in order to be able to move things around for the team to actually be effectively good, yeah, leverage is one of the most important things. We talk about it daily. You do not want to play with that. And because we're getting smarter, I guess you could say everybody's getting smarter about how to handle these things. Mistakes have been made. I think guys are going to get smarter about how to keep quiet while still getting things done. So that's what I would tell people to look out for. The overnight trade, the big name MVP-like guy just leaving like a thief in the night. No warning, nothing. That's exactly what I expect from here on out. So yeah, man, that's something to think about. Fake trade requests. Not trade requests, but fake information. This has nothing to do with the NBA per se, but I think it is something that will translate to our league. Seeing Jonathan Taylor's situation, he's a running back, Indianapolis Colts. Information leaked earlier today that he had some back issues of some sort that he had reported to the team or something like that. I don't really know the full story, but the point is this. He came out later on tonight and said he has not suffered any back soreness whatsoever, never complained about any back soreness whatsoever, etc. Who knows who leaked what and why, but I do know that this is a player who's trying to get his money, and this is also a player who's trying to get back on the field after a big injury that took place in the previous year. Now, he's been on the field since he came back from that injury, but the point is he's a free agent. Point is he is now a free agent trying to get his money. The whole thing with the running backs is bad over there in the NFL. They're not getting their value. We've talked about it a little bit. I think that translates to us in the NBA and what we talk about, because you got to understand that a lot of times that is what's going to be happening. People are going to be lying. People are going to be lying a lot, just like they always have been, but it's going to be something we look out for. Lying about and I'll say your, meaning if I'm speaking to players, about your health history and what it is that you are going to be about. I'm paying attention to the Christian Wood situation and how his value's being fluctuated by quote unquote players on the team that may or may not want him on the squad, stuff like that, that may have come from somebody within the team who may not, could very well be a lot. I'm just sensing a theme around the NBA where lies are being thrown out there by one party or another, likely to affect the prices in trades. That's what I think is going on in Jonathan Taylor's situation. They know of his injury history. Somebody who's trying to trade for him, in my speculation, probably leaked that information to try to tank his value so they can get him for a lesser price. That's what makes sense to me. There's probably a million other things and other things that also will to make that speculation come together. But I do believe that he's telling the truth. He probably never told anybody about a back injury or didn't make it out to be anything other than him saying I'm a little sore on a day where he probably worked out or something. They basically are using it to try to sully him, and they said that they're going to try to put him on the inactive list or some type of list that basically makes it so he can't play the first full couple weeks of the season. So with all this that's going on with the new collective bargaining agreement and that example over there in a different league, I just want to tell everybody that watches me to look out for the misdirection, look out for the lies, look out for all that stuff, because there's some nefarious junk going on. People are figuring out how to get what they want, and lying is not something that's new, but it is definitely something that's going around like a bad cold. So yeah, we just got to keep our eye open. That whole situation with Cam Whitmore and his tanking value still looks like something weird to me. And I never thought there was nothing wrong with that kid. And now that I've seen him in the summer league, I know there was nothing wrong with that kid. So that's just one of those situations where I'm like, whatever happened with his value is yet another tea leaf that makes me think the Lion is like, it's like a plague that's hitting sports in a very, very serious way. So yeah, man, that's just what it is. Don't mind my paranoia. I'm just reading tea leaves. But yeah, I don't know if Christian Wood, and I just double back to him because he's been mentioned already. I don't know if he really did rub somebody the wrong way, or whatever in the past, but I don't think him not signing with the Lakers necessarily has anything to do with that. I think what's really happening right now is he's probably, as I've speculated many times, waiting to see what happens with one of those big trades, and thinks that his money will shake out once one of those trades is complete. That's it. Same with PJ Washington. Same with Kelly Oubre. It just makes sense to me. They're all coming from the same team in Charlotte. So they're likely all, you know what I mean? Probably like had a conversation about how they want to handle their free agents. And it seems to me that all three of them dudes probably just see their opportunity shaking out in some way, shape, or form based on one of those trades or both of those trades getting done. And it's a lot that can shake out. That's the thing. I think the natural thought is, okay, those players sign with team that Dame goes to. But that's not how that has to go. 3-team trades can make it so that many things can shake out. You get 4 or 5 teams involved, suddenly this guy moves, this guy moves, and now you got another opportunity with some things shaking or loose based on those trades that give you maybe 2 or 3 options of teams that you could go to, as opposed to just the one that we're looking at in this conventional way. So because the web can open up that way, it's a big risk that these guys haven't signed, but it's also a big chance that they're going to land in a pretty good spot and get a really good chance at a lot more money than they would if they just signed whatever they signed right now. So that's also something that's been on my mind in regards to the situation. I don't know that people aren't throwing information out in regards to Christian Wood, try to hurry him into making a decision that maybe isn't best for what it is he's trying to strategize, trying to sully maybe his price tag, maybe trying to keep him from whatever. But the point is, I just think it's mighty convenient that all of a sudden this is like the worst guy in the world with all the problems in the world, as it pertains to, the quote that's going around is that, it's not a quote, but what has been said is that, Christian Wood is a difficult player to get to be on board, and it was said that if LeBron James is able to get Christian Wood on board, it would be one of the greatest things he's ever done in this league. And it's like, That's not what people were saying about Christian Wood last year. That's not, you know what I mean? That's, you know what I mean? That's just not the word that was going around about the guy. Now, was there some issues keeping him from getting playing time? Yes. Do we think those issues were behavioral? I ain't never heard nothing about behavioral. I thought it might have been something in regards to him not playing defense very well and their team's needs, and how he being on the floor doesn't help them in that way. And they really needed that. So I don't know how people can take what was obviously a schematic decision on Jason Kidd's part and turn it into a behavioral infractions conversation on Christian Wood's part. I just think that's a lot of bull crap, honestly. Maybe there is some people that feel a certain way, but I don't know why this information wasn't coming out when it was time to trade him to the Dallas Mavericks. I didn't hear none of that when he was signed a big contract with the Rockets. You know what I mean? So I just think, is there a chance he might have did some things to rub some people the wrong way? Of course. But is there a chance someone might have taken, as we said with Jonathan Taylor's situation, maybe he said he had a bad, he lifted a little heavier, now he had a bad back, and somebody randomly said he had to go to the chiropractor and slip the disc. Like, yeah, it's a lot of exaggeration that I think is very possible with the Christian Wood situation. And, that's what I'm saying to you. That's what I think. I just think it's a little weird that all this news is coming out about him being whatever they want to say. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's doing anything but waiting for an opportunity when a trade is made to kind of sign with a team. And so all of the different stuff has nothing to do with him as a person, and it's a lot of noise. And it's just curious. It's very curious to me to see what happens with that situation there. And I don't think any of those people are going back to Charlotte. I don't think any of those people are going back to Charlotte. So we're definitely going to see 3 very talented players leave that organization and probably sign with a different organization or 3 different organizations, however that's going to go. But with them being as good as they are, they could change the tide of things if they go to the right spots. So that's what I think of those 3 particular players. And yeah, man, that's kind of what's on my mind. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of content here in regards to the NBA. And of course, as more things come to mind, I'll definitely bring them your way. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got, man. I appreciate everybody for rocking with BDF44, and I'm out.